Well, I'm going to the frontier, walk up to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
The service department at Gala Chevrolet is clean, modern, and ready for you. Our master technicians service every make and model, including certified service on any GM vehicle. Service done right the first time, every time, right here at the all-new Gala Chevrolet.
Dream Style Remodeling has been wowing homeowners in New Mexico since 1989. Selected as Best Custom Home Remodeler for 3 consecutive years by readers of the Albuquerque Journal, we're also your exclusive provider for top home improvement brands like Renewal by Anderson, Four Seasons, Blaze King, and many others. Founded and headquartered in Albuquerque, Dream Style Remodeling is family-owned and now employs more than 500 people across the southwestern U.S. In fact, we've helped more than 60,000 homeowners improve their home in New Mexico, Arizona, California, Idaho, and West Texas. We're committed to providing a superior customer experience. We've earned 4.6 stars with hundreds of online reviews and have an A+ with the BBB. Dream Style Remodeling is a proud supporter of UNM Athletics. Visit our beautiful 10,000 square foot showroom at 1460 Renaissance Boulevard across from Sam's Club or dreamstyleremodeling.com to make your home remodeling dreams come true.
Don't sacrifice quality of flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network. Car Crafters, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this?
Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that can happen?
No! Bad dog!
Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened?
Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car Crafters, it's like it never happened.
The Sports Desk is proudly presented by Car Crafters. It's like it never happened.
Welcome everybody here to the Sports Desk live here on Proview Comcast Channel 26 and of course on Facebook Live. You can also see us archived on Facebook Live as well as on YouTube. So that's the drill each and every week. We have a lot of catching up to do, Ed Nunez, as we have the districts starting up. Some have already started, and we have a special guest, by the way. We'll bring him in here momentarily, but some of the districts, District 3, because of so many teams have already started, but district play starts this week.
Well, the special guest we have can wax, for a long time about all the districts, although I think even he said he was just a little bit, not confused, but he has to get them all straight. But I think anytime you start district play, and I thought it was a great article by our special guest in this morning's paper, I always read whatever he writes about high school sports, football, basketball, he covers it all, baseball. So I thought the breakdown was great and kind of made me think about some of the teams. And as I mentioned, I didn't think much was separating those teams. Our guest may think that there is some separation there, and slight separation in my opinion, but right. I think it's going to be a good discussion. You guys do a great job on the team every Saturday and break down high school sports. And district play, Adam Deal said this last week, the season's already more than halfway over. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, what happened? And we're like, it's going to be seeding and selection. And we said this in November.
Right.
And that's how quick things move along.
Well, first off, As you saw here on Proview Networks, congratulations go out to Los Lunas winning the girls' Hope Christian tournament.
Also, congratulations, and again, our special guest will go into this deeper, to the Hope boys. They Los Lunas girls, coached by Marty Zeller. Marty Zeller is an intimidating figure, man, in a way. He's tall, he's got the big handshake. I remember when he coached at Grants, I officiated some of his games out there. Real good guy, and they lost a lot from last year, right?
Yeah.
And, the Hope Christian Husky girls had faced a pretty murderous schedule. Hannah Valencia is going to be a fine player. As a sophomore, she's already good. The younger sister of Haley Valencia. Savannah Lewis, the younger sister of Olivia Lewis, she's good. But they're sophomores.
Right.
So they're learning. And I thought the Hope boys, and I said this to Coach Segura and Coach Murphy on Saturday, they're playing in the district with Pius now, with Highland, with Los Lunas. So Pius and Hope on Saturday, they limited Pius to 16 second-half points defensively. And when they play defense there at that gym, they used that end line as their sixth defender.
Right.
Colin Evans, I said, hadn't been scoring, but you know what he's doing? He's distributing the ball like a big Magic Johnson. So here comes district, and again, our special guest will get into that, what he thinks about it deeper.
What I wanted to ask you, have you seen Coach Zeller in glasses? I go out and do a sight check last week. It's during school. He's teaching a PE class in the gym. Lo and behold, he breaks out some glasses. You talk about a guy who looks intimidating in glasses, that's the guy.
I'd like to see that. No, I've never seen that. Like I said, 6'5" guy. He's got the big handshake, and I'm not easily intimidated by much.
Right.
And again, he's a great guy, though. I have a lot of respect for him. And after the game, it's always, hey, let's give what he wants to give glory, is to the Lord right away.
Right.
And and then he'll mellow out and talk about. He knows basketball so well. I love to see him in the stands when Zane is playing, when he is able to see him. And, having your father at games and knowing as much as he does, it's hard for Zane, although he's coached by Travis Julian, it's hard not to look back at your father.
Right.
To see what he thinks. And it's hard.
Now, here's the thing. Coach Zeller always has that game face on, and who would have thought teaching a class would bring out the smile? Because he was all smiles when I saw him last week.
He smiles, man, but like I said, I've been on the other end of that when some of the calls that I made he wasn't too happy about and wasn't smiling too much. And like I said, he'll let you know, but he's going to fight for his kids. I don't ever have a problem with coaches doing that. And he did do that and does do that and does a great job of it.
We bring in our special guest now, and it's James Yodas of the Albuquerque Journal. Also, my co-host on the Team High School Show on ESPN Radio 101.7 The Team each and every Saturday from 10 to 11. And got the idea to bring you in, James, when we were talking before the show on Saturday, bringing up how district is starting. And I thought, you know what? We need to bring you in to kind of help explain the districts because there's so much upheaval. Some of the districts seem straightforward, but then you look at the district that Valley's in. Both Brian O'Neill and myself thought that when Valley played Los Lunas, that was the district opener. It's not even a district game like it is in football.
I was just saying to Ed before we came on air that it's like a school teacher getting to know a new classroom, and you have to get to know all these new faces, where they're sitting, what row they're sitting, and you've got to put the name with the face. And it's kind of like that with these new districts. We've had a lot of shuffling. Some of them are just completely different from what we had in football. So even someone like me who's been doing this long, I'm still trying to learn where everybody is slotted now.
Right.
And it'll take some time. I hope by the state tournament I'll have a better idea. But I find myself still jumping in to the alignment list and just refreshing myself about, okay, this team is here, this team is here. It can be very convoluted.
Well, speaking of alignment list, and it took me forever last night to put this together, but we're going to look at the alignment list, and James is going to throw in his opinion. We'll throw in our opinions as well on who we think is going to do well in each district, but we're going to show you the districts involving area teams. So my apologies in advance if we leave out a district. We're barely going to have enough time to go over what we have. We look at girls first, 3A District 5, and I put this in because of Cottonwood Classical.
Yeah, it's still a relatively new program, so I know they're looking at trying to get into the state tournament for the first time. So I have to confess, I don't know a lot about Bosque or Sandia Prep. And then I don't know a ton about Cottonwood, except that I know they had a few kids coming back from last season. So that record doesn't necessarily surprise me. And as you look at that list, it's pretty obvious Cottonwood is going to be the team to watch there in that league.
Well, the other thing that I got to ask you about, speaking of Sandia Prep, what district were they in before, and weren't they in more, rivalry-based districts?
I knew you were pinning me on this. I believe they were in a district. Ed might remember this for sure. I think they were in a district with St. Michael's. And Hope.
Yeah, I could have sworn that they were in Hope.
And Bosque.
Sandia Prep.
No, they were.
I think Hope and Bosque and Sandia Prep and St. Mike's were all actually in the same district. They were last year.
But I knew the local team was Hope, and so it's kind of weird to see Sandia Prep in this one, but that's where it is. We go to 4A now, where we have a couple of districts. You got Portales, St. Pius, Belen, Grants, and Valencia. It's kind of weird seeing Belen without Los Lunas in a district.
Yeah, Portales, of course, is an excellent team. And to be honest, I'm not. Los Lunas should be in this district. I think Portales. I don't think Portales is in this district. I think that should be Los Lunas. I think.
That's actually according to.
That's actually. Double check that. I'm about 100% sure that Los Lunas is the team that should be in this district, but. Irrespective of that, I do want to mention St. Pius.
Well, you know what?
They've got a great guard. They've got a great guard named Maya Trujillo.
Somehow Los Lunas is missing them. Maybe I deleted them.
No, there's no way Portales would be in this particular district, I don't think. It should be Los Lunas. It's the 3 Valencia County schools plus St. Pius and Grants. But we were talking about.
Nobody's perfect, I guess, right?
We were talking about Los Lunas a second ago, and Ed was talking about Marty Zeller. By the way, those glasses he has are new this year, and they are very intimidating.
That's what I'm saying.
And Scott and I were talking before during the radio show the other day. Marty is such a faith-based guy, and he's really a pretty gentle guy and super friendly, always very accommodating when he's away from basketball. And yet during those 32 minutes when he coaches, he's hyper intense. His voice carries through any gym he's in, and he cuts an intimidating figure. You said 6'5". I was guessing like 6'6" or 6'7". Marty is I imagine if you're a player, he's probably a pretty intimidating guy to play for. He's very exacting, but what has he done? He's put together the best program in the second tier division in the state. There's no question about it. I mean, and Ed mentioned something that I would have mentioned, which is I think he's doing maybe one of his best coaching jobs at Los Lunas because he did lose quite a few good kids off of that team, and he's got a bunch of young girls on this team. He's got a couple of veterans in there too, but I'm looking at players like Natalie Hahola and Mia Guest in particular, and I'm forgetting one other one, I think, but he has put together just such a tremendous program, and I believe they're 15.
Okay.
I think they are 15.
Here's where the mistake is. Portales should be Los Lunas. The record is correct.
Right. Yeah. I know Los Lunas.
So
is
everything else is correct there.
Right.
Somehow Portales ended up being put there instead of Los Lunas.
I'm here to help, my man.
Yeah. Well, so is Max Prebs. So I got Max Prebs here to kind of bail me out, and that's what happened there. But the 15-3 is correct.
Yeah. And Los Lunas has had a strong first half. The team to watch out there is Kirtland Central. That's a team Los Lunas lost to at home, and those two teams. As I wrote in the journal this morning, those two teams I think have had separation over the rest at this point, and we'll have to see if those two meet up later on. Not that there aren't other teams that could, possibly post an upset. St. Pius would fall into that category. Highland would fall into that category. Silver, Pewaukee. There's some other schools in 4A that are having strong first halves, but right now it's Kirtland and it's Los Lunas.
So that is District 5, and now let's go to 4A District 6. And yes, there is a District 6. You got Valley, Highland, Bernalillo, Hope Christian, Albuquerque Academy, Del Norte. Some of the schools used to be in around each other, Ed, and some, Hope Christian and Academy, not so much.
Well, that's quite an interesting district to me. And again, Hope Christian girls had struggled a little bit, but I was talking or listening to Sebastian Noel. I haven't seen Highland a lot. I know they've got Kaylee Crawford and Brooklyn Crawford, but they're struggling at the guard position there. So that district, to me, I don't know what James thinks. I don't know that there's a clear-cut favorite there.
Yeah, I disagree completely. Highland is absolutely the clear-cut favorite here. Look, if you look at this record, it's totally deceiving. All these losses, and I saw Highland for the first time the other night play at Cleveland. All of these losses are to schools in 5A, and in most cases to really good teams.
That's true.
I'm thinking about teams like Volcano Vista and La Cueva, a couple others that I can't think of off the top of my head. All of those, they haven't lost anybody in their own division yet, or their own classification yet. So Highland, to me, is is just absolutely clearly the front runner in this district, with Hope as the second pick. We were talking about Haley Valencia, Hannah's younger sister, the sophomore, who's a tremendous player.
Right.
You know, she's going to have to do yeoman's work, I think, to keep Hope in that district. And remember, I think Hope and Highland open up district either today or tomorrow against each other. So, but for me, Highland with Kaylee Crawford, they're not deep. That's Lonnie Neal's biggest concern. They are not deep, and they are suffering in the fourth quarter. I'm thinking about the other night. They don't give up a free throw for 3 quarters, and then they start to get tired, heavy legs in the fourth quarter at Cleveland, give up 14 free throws in the fourth quarter. They end up losing that game by 2. So their starting 5 is pretty stout, and I can tell you they're better than any starting 5 on this list, including Hope's. But Hope is the only team I think that could challenge Highland. But if Highland can stay healthy, there's no reason to think Highland shouldn't make its way all the way into at least the quarterfinals, as far as I'm concerned.
Let's roll through 5A now before we take a break. Then we'll do the boys out of the break. In 5A District 1, looks pretty similar to last year. In fact, very similar, except for Trisco Heritage.
Actually, and it looks, and with Siebel being at the bottom of the district, I mean, that's a team that's been great for 4 years of Amaya Brown. So to see them at the bottom of the district now is a little
Well, I didn't say the standings were normal. I'm saying the district looks normal.
Yeah. You know, Trisco Heritage, of course, is new. They replaced Piedra Vista, who's still really good, and we'll talk about them in a second. But, you know, Volcano Vista with that super young lineup, you know, they've got 4 freshmen on the floor, and they can go to an all-freshman lineup if they want. They've got that many freshmen playing. They're very impressive. You know, they've got some good losses on that list. They lost to West Mesa. They lost to La Cueva twice, I think. So Volcano's very strong. And I think probably the favorite as we start that district. Cleveland's got a good team. It's not a fancy team. They don't have a singular great scorer on that team, but they've got 7 or 8 pretty good complementary pieces. Rio Rancho's, to me, is the wild card on this list. They've been kind of up and down this year. When they play well, they can beat anybody, but they've also had some nights where they've been maybe not altogether there, and they've had a couple of losses that sort of raise my eyebrows. But Rio Rancho's a team that I think is the most mysterious one of this group.
I'll make it quick, but I think Rio Rancho, when I saw them play, they've got Laura Gutierrez who can score.
Right.
Hawkins is a freshman who has a lot of potential. They have to develop, I believe, at least one more scorer to help Gutierrez out.
You know, and following up on that, Kelsey Hawkins, the Rio Rancho freshman, is probably the fastest player I've seen in girls basketball this year. Unbelievably quick. I saw her for the first time play La Cueva back in December before Christmas, and I had not seen her before, didn't know much about her. She was fantastic.
Yeah, sure was.
Let's go to District 2 now in 5A as we roll through the girls here. And in District 2, you got West Mesa, La Cueva, and like I said before, James, instead of Clovis and going all the way to Clovis, now you go all the way to Farmington to play Piedra Vista and Farmington, and you also have El Dorado. And Farmington playing with the big boys and girls now.
Yeah, I remember I saw the new coaches poll last night. You got West Mesa number 1, La Cueva number 3, PV number 4, and I think Farmington jumped into the poll today at number 7, perhaps.
Yeah, we'll go over those later.
Yeah, so you got 4 of the top 7 ranked teams in the state here in this district. And El Dorado at 8-17, that's not a bad team, but they're going to suffer in this district with this quality of teams. You know, to me, as I wrote in my column this morning, the biggest storyline of the entire second half, boys or girls, is following West Mesa's girls. Can this group, this veteran group, get to the pit for that championship game? And in 5A, only one game is played in the pit, and that's the state final. So for me, that is, everything revolves around that.
District 3 now in 5A on the girls' side. You got Mayfield, Alamogordo, Las Cruces, Oñate, Deming, Centennial, and Gadsden. And by the way, these are in the order, for the most part, of the standings, but I think they're also kind of in alphabetical order and kind of a mismatch.
Yeah, I haven't seen Mayfield yet. They were up here, I think, for the Academy tournament. I did not get a chance to watch them, but they've clearly been the best team in this group. You know, since the start of the season, they've played a very tough schedule. So you see the 12-5. They've played some really good teams along the way. I believe even including West Mesa. So Mayfield, I think, to me, is clearly the favorite there. And
rolling down here in 5A, we have 5 districts now, unlike 6A, which had 4. And this is one of the different districts: Hobbs, Carlsbad, Clovis, and Roswell. You got a couple of teams who used to be in District 3.
Yeah, and if you look at Hobbs and Carlsbad's record, they have 3 combined losses. 2 of those 3 are West Mesa. West Mesa went down there on a road trip in December, beat Carlsbad on a Friday night, beat Hobbs on Saturday. So that's Hobbs' only loss. That's one of Carlsbad's 2 losses. So you know, boy, I tell you what, I think with Hobbs and Carlsbad, West Mesa, La Cueva, those to me are the 4 best teams out there in girls basketball. I don't see any other team on this board anywhere that's going to have a chance. Maybe a PV, maybe a Volcano Vista, but I think it's those 4 that end up getting into the semifinals down the road.
And District 5 a bit confusing because you got a couple of teams that weren't in it before. You got a team Valley, which is missing. You got a team Albuquerque, which was independent in football, Ed, and they're in this district. So very interesting with Capital joining along with Santa Fe.
Yes, that's quite a, I know there's been some improvements there with Manzano. They've played better. Rio Grande, you know, under Coach Collins, still trying to, you know, get those numbers to build a program there. Coach Kettig has had some, you know, he's got Broussard and V&A Cumber back. Not sure if they have one more key player there. I haven't seen Santa Fe or Capital and Albuquerque High under Doug Dorme struggling at 2-11.
James, I got to ask you this. What was the rationale moving Manzano and Sandia out of District 2 and moving Farmington and Piedra Vista in?
Well, the NMA had to find some compromise if they wanted to get with, especially in basketball where you have so many more schools playing up into the largest division.
Gotcha,
because the
yeah.
enrollment divisions are different in every other sport than they are in football.
Right.
Which is why schools like Farmington don't play in the upper level in football, because the enrollment cutoff is different in basketball and all the other sports than it is in football. So as a result, they had to find a way to make it as geographically friendly as they could. Frankly, La Cueva and El Dorado are closer to PV and Farmington geographically, maybe not by much, than Manzano and Sandia. You know, but Sandia is the favorite here. I will say this, Roger Williams, the Manzano coach, I think he's doing a really good job under the circumstances. You know, I don't know if this team will get to state, but they were really down for 2 or 3 years, and they're 6-8, and you know what? That's a pretty solid mark for them.
Right.
And they've got a chance to win actually a bunch of games in this district. If you take Sandia out of the equation, they should be able to match up and beat any of these other 5 or any of these other 4 teams on this list. So Manzano may end up actually over 500 by the end of the year.
Well, we went a little over on that segment. We'll put our track shoes on and catch things up out of the break. We'll take a break here, but first, the top 10 plays of the week from Dreamstyle.
And he's wide open. You do not leave Amir Muhammad wide open.
Here's they on a push. Here comes Ahola. She didn't have any teammates, so she didn't matter.
Try to set it up nice dish to Crawford, barreling inside, spinning, a little lay-in, yes!
Yeah, you can see her struggling to get down the floor.
Rivas, Twine.
Gates. Now Nitafan on the dribble. Working against Arnett off the window. How did it go? Back out to Evans. Colin on the dribble. He'll spin. Find underneath. Another one for Evans.
Look at this. Steve Rivas is going to swing it out to Burke for 3. Twine and a 9.
Let's see if Dockery will try to bring it home, and he does. Isaiah Dockery, the breakaway dunk. I thought he might try that. Underneath, Evans first to the floor, and Evans from the seat of his pants throws the outlet to Nitafan. Here's Johnny on the other end.
Rivas will get it back. She wants a 3-pointer. Rivas for 3! There it is! And everybody knows it. And a timeout is going to be called by Manny Otero. 1,000 points plus in her career here at West Mesa High School. Congratulations, Maya Rivas.
High school sports are back.
The 2018-19 season kicks off, and you could watch every Proview Network broadcast live on the NFHS Network. Every moment, from every game, from every sport, including all NMAA state championships. Get your highly discounted monthly pass now. Go to ProviewNetworks.com and sign up. Watch New Mexico's best.
Is this my car? State Farm knows that for every one of those moments,
This is ridiculous!
there's one of these.
Is this my car? What? This is ridiculous.
This can't be happening!
This can't be happening.
Oh, it's happening, sweetheart.
Oh, it's happening, sweetheart.
Shut up.
Shut up! That's why State Farm is there, with car insurance for when things go wrong, but also here with car loans to help life go right. State Farm.
Talk to State Farm agent Marty Size or Michelle Rudolph in Albuquerque today.
Talk to State Farm agent Greg Shamus today.
Sadie's is a proud supporter of New Mexico high school sports and athletics, and we here at Proview Networks would like to thank Sadie's for their continued support in helping us bring you all of your New Mexico high school sports coverage.
Car Crafters, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this? Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that can happen?
No! Bad dog! Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened?
Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car crafters, it's like it never happened.
Get into the game with Garden Swartz Team Sales. They have everything you need, from screen printing, embroidery, and digital printing services, high school letterman jackets, and all high school and club uniforms and individual and team apparel with the most reliable brands like Speedline, Rawlins, and Wilson. And don't forget to check out the latest F7 Shut helmet. It's all at Garden Swartz Team Sales. Give them a call, 505-884-1234. Garden Swartz Team Sales.
And we are back here on the Sports Desk. I'm Scott Galletti along with Ed Nunez, Alden Iowani, our fine director as always. And we have James Yotis of the Albuquerque Journal, also my co-host on the Team High School Show, Saturdays 10 to 11 on ESPN Radio 101.7 The Team. We went over the districts in boys, in girls I should say. We're going to have to do the boys right now. We're going to have to do it a little quicker because we're a little behind.
Blaze through it,
let's
my
blaze
man.
through so we can get caught up on breaks here. 3A District 5 once again, Cottonwood Classical and Sandia Prep are the newcomers in this district.
Yeah, Bosky's played some good basketball this year with Coach Clifton Davidson. They've got a couple of good scorers on this group, and as I've looked at some of these other teams during the course of the year, Sandia Prep is still the one I think to keep an eye on. Even though they're 7-9, it's a big team that Coach Marcos Rivera has. It is a big team. I mean, like 5A big. That is a big group. I'm not sure about their guards, but we'll have to. Sandia Prep's the team I'm going to be keeping an eye on in this district now that we get into league play.
Let's go to 4A District 5, and, well, we have Los Lunas in this one. Yeah, so the correct team. Have you ever, and I know I did this when I was in newspaper too, and luckily we had editors to catch it. Have you ever used a template on a story and forgot to take something out? And
no.
I think I inadvertently put Portales in, but I think Portales might have been in the old district. But yeah, Los Lunas in this one, and they're 14-3 and playing extremely well. And
yeah,
they, you know what? They played a grinded-out game against Valley in the game that Brian O'Neill and I did last week, and it may not have been their best game. It might have been their best game defensively.
It's funny you mentioned you put Los Lunas and Valley on the same court with Travis Julian and Joe Coleman. I mean.
Well, Joe got kicked out of that game, so he
might
had
as well just announce to the fans before the game, we're going to be grinding it out. Nobody's going to get more than 45 points in this game.
Right.
You know, Travis, as good a defensive coach as there is out there, honestly. You know, and he cut his teeth with Greg Brown up at Manzano.
Well, he's also good at playing Greg Brown's kind of offense where, they pass and pass and pass. And it's not just keeping it out in the perimeter. There's a lot of ball movement going on for each guy to get the ball, but they're always in a specific spot of the court, not necessarily looking to drive.
And they've got some kids that can score on this team. Zane
Yes,
Zeller, who
oh,
we've
yeah.
talked about. A.J. Garcia, who's a player I like a lot.
Darius Haywood came alive
yes.
in that game against Valley.
Those three kids can all score, even though Las Lunas is not a high-scoring team per se in general. All three of those kids are capable of going off for a big night. So it's not that Travis couldn't play an 80-75 game. He doesn't want to.
Right.
But they could if they had to. If they just happened to get caught in a tempo game, they could certainly accommodate anybody with the kind of offensive skill they have, and especially with Zanin running the point. He's as good a passer as we have in the entire metro area in any classification.
Right.
And, he's Marty Zeller's son and very high basketball IQ. So, that team is clearly the class of this group.
4A District 6, and this is the one that Valley is in. You got Bernalillo playing well, and I'm kind of surprised because didn't they lose a bunch of guys?
They lost some of their big kids.
Mm-hmm.
That's important to remember. They had several guards, including Reyes Herrera plus Luis Villegas coming back. They lost their size off last year's team. That's what makes this team different. And I have not had a chance to watch Bernalillo in person yet. That's one of my top priorities now that we're in the district. I need to get out and watch them. Matter of fact, they play Valley tonight in a district opener. And Joe and Terry Darnell go way back. Although if Joe got thrown out of his last game, maybe he's not going to be there tonight. Hope Christian, there they are at 9-7. All of those losses are to 5A teams, every one of them. And in many cases, a really good elite team in 5A. So, Hope, as it goes after that 7th straight state title, people might be deceived by the record, but they're ranked 2nd in the state behind Las Lunas. Nitafan, Dockery, great backcourt. Ed was talking about Colin Evans earlier, being a great passing big man. So this team is deep. Let's not mistake that. This team is deep enough to take on a team like Las Lunas with its defensive pressure.
And you got Del Norte in this district as well, and they've been up, and now they're kind of going down.
Well, they had some great moments early in the year. They beat Albuquerque High in overtime, and I think James would agree they've had some tough losses as well. I still think that, they've got Malik Barton, Jonathan Wilkins. They've got some pieces there as well, so I wouldn't go to sleep on them either. But I think last year at this time, Hope Christian was around 500. Then at the tournament, they take their tournament and they go on a roll. They lose one game the rest of the year on the way to the 16 championship. I'm interested to see Highland with Damian Woody has a good starting 5. In this district here, nothing is going to be, and again, Hope has to, I think what impresses me the most is their first dribble defense. It's amongst the best in the state. That's how they make their living, limiting Pius again to 16 points in the second half for the Hope Invitational Championship.
One of the guys I was very impressed, James, with for Valley is Chavez. His court presence, good shooter, and
You're talking about Derek Chavez.
Yeah,
the
and the thing about him, he was being double and triple teamed, and he was still getting points.
Right, because he's their best scorer that came back from last season. He was just a freshman last year and actually came on with a big splash last year, had several really big games, a kid that a lot of people didn't know about. So he was clearly Joe's best offensive player returning.
In fact, they were running a box and one on him for a while.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. And, and I just want to second what Ed said. Damian Woody is doing a terrific job at Highland. That's a team that's been down for a couple of years as well, kind of like the Manzano girls.
Right.
And you know what? They've been a competitive team. They played Cleveland to a 7-point game last week. I think it was 74-67. So that got my attention. And I think Carrion, I believe is his name, Erasmo Carrion, I believe is their top scorer. I haven't had a chance to watch this team in person. I really need to get out and watch them as well, along with Bernalillo. But I know in this district, Highland ought to be able to be competitive with, honestly, anybody on this list, including Hope. They're going to open the district against each other tonight, I believe, at Hope, since the Highland gym is not ready yet, I don't think. So I'll be interested to see how that shapes up. But Bernalillo, with its guards, I think still probably the second best team in this district.
Hate to say this because 5A is going to be hard to roll through them. Let's roll through 5A, and we'll go with District 1 first in 5A. 5 districts again, Cleveland on top, 17-1. Volcano, Atrisco, Rio Rancho, Cibola, and the only team struggling, of course, is Cibola. The other 4 teams, man, that's almost like a Final Four in the state tournament.
That could be the Final Four in the state
tournament. It very well could
depending on how
be.
the bracket goes. Of course, Cleveland and Volcano Vista are playing tonight, a rematch of the Metro Final out at Cleveland. I'll be at that game. I know you're going to be at the Atrisco Rio Rancho game later in the week. Those two have already played, had an 89-85 game. So much good basketball in this district. Rio Rancho was the surprise to me here, and I think even Wally Salata, Rio Rancho's coach, would tell you that, and he told me that. I don't think he expected this team to be out to as quick a first half as they were, but he's got David Patterson, the terrific senior guard who's going to Air Force, and Blaine Gallegos, the forward, who frankly is maybe the most underrated or
I was just going to say, and we talked about this on Saturday, he's very, very underrated.
He might be the most underappreciated good player in the entire metro area, maybe even all of 5A. That kid can go off. When he scored 30 against Atrisco just a couple of weeks ago. So they've got two great pieces, but I think he's trying to slot in the rest and try and figure out how the rest kind of fits together. They don't have a third scorer, but they've won 13 games with these two kind of carrying the load for the most part. So we'll have to see with Cleveland. I think Volcano Vista is the best team I've seen, top to bottom, the deepest, the most pieces, the most complementary pieces. But Cleveland, when they play at that pace, that pressing, full court pressure pace, you just can't deal with them. You just cannot deal with them.
How do you make out this wild district, Deb, where everyone's going to beat up on each other?
You know what? James makes some great points. If you look at Atrisco Heritage, I mean, Sutphin, Josiah Ramos, Dominic Rivas, Brooks, Adrian Ortega. That is such a tough district right there. And James, to your point, when Munn and Mohammed are playing and Nakai Smith, and then you got Josh Tari and the sophomore Trey Watson.
Yep.
Josh Terry surprises me. That guy's built like a tackle and does his job. He's very light on his feet. So when they're playing in Mohammed and Munn can cover so much ground on that press that when they are playing like that, it's very tough to beat them. So, but I think, again, your points about Volcano Vista with Jelante Gray, Cesar Madrid, those are well taken as well. So that's going to go right down to the last, the last call, man. It really is.
You left out the point that Josh Terry can hit a raindrop,
Yes.
teardrop three with nothing but net. I mean, that is a talented big guy.
He's a very nimble kid, and Ed's right. And he looks like an offensive tackle. He does.
Big legs,
but he's very nimble around the basket. He does a good job creating shots for himself where there are no shots available.
Right.
He can go up and under. He's a great offensive rebounder, and it's important to remember the one loss Cleveland had was at Santa Fe. Josh Terry did not play in that game. And Sean Jimenez said that was a big thing for them. He was sick. He didn't even make the road trip to Santa Fe. He missed that game. Could be Cleveland would be 18-0 with him. He's a very valuable piece. But, what Ed said is so true. Munn and Muhammad, Nakai Smith, those three are so incredibly fast. They beat you to the spot. When they start pressuring the basketball, they just simply beat you to the spot. They know where the passes are going, and they just beat you to the spot, turn you over, get in transition, and you cannot stop this team in transition. And when they start going like that, Atrisco knows this. They were up 16 in the second half against Cleveland, owned them for 3.5 quarters.
Right.
Cleveland turns up the pressure, boom, wins the game.
Disrupt your whole offensive flow. They kill your offense.
Yeah.
Absolutely. District 2 and 5A looks like this. El Dorado, Manzano, La Cuevas, Santa Fe, and Sandia. And you got El Dorado. Is that right?
Santa Fe's record's definitely not right. They're like about 13-3, I think, something like that. I'm not sure, but actually, Farmington and Piedra Vista should be in this.
Something went awry then.
Santa Fe's in the Albuquerque High District. It should be Farmington and PV in this district.
I think my old computer didn't save something and I didn't catch it.
It's El Dorado, La Cueva, West Mesa, Farmington, Piedra Vista.
Yeah.
So El Dorado, I think, with Tyler Quintana and Cameron Valencia, that's the best team in that district by far. La Cueva has underachieved. I've said this to a couple of people. I think they've got some really good pieces on this team. I do not think they have reached their potential yet. That's a team I'll be interested to watch. That team could play with El Dorado under the right circumstances, but it would require a special effort. West Mesa with Eloy Medina, it's been a bit of a struggle for Sean Schreier out there. Farmington and PV, I don't know as much about them. I know their girls' teams at those schools are much stronger than the boys' team. So I would expect when we get to the end of this, it's El Dorado, then La Cueva probably in this district. And if Roy can find a solid third scorer, and that's one thing he's been trying to figure out. Cameron Carter's been that guy from time to time. They have a chance to make some noise at state, but they're going to have that. They're going to have more than just Quintana and Valencia.
Let's take a look now at District 3, and you got Las Cruces undefeated at 17-0, and Yate, Gadsden, Mayfield, Centennial, Deming, and Alamogordo make up this district. Let's skip to District 4 now and look at this. And District 4 in 5A. I think we have District 4 on there. Hopefully we do.
Yeah.
And there it is. You got Roswell in there at 14-4, 14-5 Hobbs, 12-6 Clovis, and you got Carlsbad 11-6. So a tough district there. And in District 5 in 5A, we'll look at that here. And you got Sandia along with Rio Grande, Albuquerque, Capital, Manzano, Santa Fe. Actually,
that looks right.
Okay. So
Yeah.
Santa Fe is 13-3. So that's the correct record
and
for
we should
Santa
talk
Fe.
real quick about J.B. White, the Demons. Santa Fe's
I was going to ask you about that,
sophomore
actually,
guard,
because he broke that yesterday.
Dislocated his patella in the Clovis game, which is now, as we're sitting here 10 days ago on a Saturday night. Had an MRI last week. They got the results yesterday. Zach Cole, the Demons coach, texted me yesterday and said there was no structural damage to the knee, no tears or anything like that, which is good. The question is now, can he rehab and get back into the lineup before the end of the season? You know, as I understand it, Adam Deal, I believe, said he had the same injury 3 times. He texted me yesterday, and it's maybe 4 to 6 weeks. We're about 7 weeks away from the end of the state tournament. So depending on how severe the injury was and how quick this kid rehabs, you know how it is. Young kids can heal very quickly. Maybe he gets back on the court into the district tournament, maybe in time for the first round at state. I know there's certainly a different team with him. They've got great guards on that team, but frankly, I mean, that's a tall order to see them making a lot of noise at state if he does not play. He's that important to that team.
Before we go to break, real quickly, Alden, if we can go back to District 2 on the boys' side. And I just want to double check this and look at the record. So the record is correct, El Dorado, and 11-7 would be Farmington. La Cueva is 8-7 at number 3. It's West Mesa 6-9 at number 4, and Piedra Vista is 6-12 at number 5. So the records are correct. Got to switch the teams.
No problem. It happens.
But anyway, wanted to make sure that we got that in there. So Farmington and Piedra Vista are in the same district, and that's going to be tough for them.
I like that Farmington's back in the big classification again. You know, I've been at this job long enough to remember Farmington with Marv Sanders and practically a dynasty up there with kids like Rob Robbins, who came down to the pit and won some state titles. You know, Farmington is a program with a lot of tradition. They just haven't won at the big level in a while. So I think they've sort of faded off the radar. A little bit like their baseball program, who won state last year, and it had been a long time for them, and Farmington has always had a great baseball team. Farmington's always had great athletics. They suffered, just like Cibola did when Volcano Vista opened, Farmington suffered when Piedra Vista opened.
Numbers.
And they just haven't been the same. So I'd like to see Farmington get competitive and become a factor in 5A basketball. I think that would be awesome.
Take a break and come back with more here on the Sports Desk.
This is Coach Borrego of the Charlotte Hornets. Hello to all you parents out there in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I want to congratulate 38 years for the AYBL. You guys are doing a great job. You've shaped a lot of lives, young men and women, and you'll continue to do that. Parents, get involved, sign your kid up. It's a great program. It helped shape who I am today, helped shape me as a basketball player, as a coach. So get out there, sign them up. Have a great season. Good luck to everybody.
The Barley Room, proud sponsor of Proview Networks for over 9 years, is pleased to introduce Black Iron Catering. From weddings and family reunions to birthdays and office parties, Black Iron Catering is perfect for any event. Contact Jamie at 505-459-8259 and book your event today. Black Iron Catering. Let us bring our kitchen to you.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number 1. Cover it with green stuff, 1 scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
The service department at Gala Chevrolet is clean, modern, and ready for you. Our master technicians service every make and model, including certified service on any GM vehicle. Service done right the first time, every time, right here at the all-new Gala Chevrolet.
Dream Style Remodeling has been wowing homeowners in New Mexico since 1989. Selected as Best Custom Home Remodeler for 3 consecutive years by readers of the Albuquerque Journal, we're also your exclusive provider for top home improvement brands like Renewal by Anderson, Four Seasons, Blaze King, and many others. Founded and headquartered in Albuquerque, Dream Style Remodeling is family-owned and now employs more than 500 people across the southwestern U.S. In fact, we've helped more than 60,000 homeowners improve their home in New Mexico, Arizona, California, Idaho, and West Texas. We're committed to providing a superior customer experience. We've earned 4.6 stars with hundreds of online reviews and have an A+ with the BBB. Dream Style Remodeling is a proud supporter of UNM Athletics. Visit our beautiful 10,000 square foot showroom at 1460 Renaissance Boulevard across from Sam's Club or DreamStyleRemodeling.com to make your home remodeling dreams come true.
The Sports Desk is proudly presented by Car Crafters. It's like it never happened.
And we're back here on the Sports Desk. I'm Scott Colletti along with Ed Nunez. We have James Yotis of the Albuquerque Journal. He knows everything about high school sports, also co-hosts the radio show, the Team High School Show on ESPN Radio 101.7 The Team every Saturday, 10 to 11 with yours truly. And we got the idea to bring him in to talk about the districts. Well, if you're not confused now, you're never going to be, because some of those districts a little more confusing than others. But let's roll through the polls now, and we'll start with the girls' 2A poll. And we'll just rattle through these. Texaco still number 1. Pecos, Penasco, Mescalera, Magdalena. 1 through 5, no change, Ed.
No, Texaco's been holding that number 1 spot for most of the season, so no change there.
Let's go to 3A now. And in 3A, you got Robertson at the top. Tucumcari, Cary, Santa Fe Indian, Hatch Valley, West Las Vegas. Basically no change there either.
Pretty much the same thing.
Let's go to 4A now, and 4A on the girls' side, and that's Los Lunas, Kirtland Central, Gallup, Powahki Valley, and Highland, the top 5. Very interesting.
Yeah,
very good teams.
Yeah, Highland I would put, if I was ranking these teams, I would put Highland 3 on my list, slightly ahead of Gallup. Like I said, Highland's record's a little bit deceiving. You know, I saw Gallup play Los Lunas back in the Los Lunas Holiday Tournament, and Los Lunas has beaten Gallup straight up head-to-head twice, and they pounded them in a road game in Gallup. So that's why I said earlier that I thought there was pretty much clear separation at this point between Los Lunas and Kirtland Central and everybody else, including Highland, including Powahki, Gallup, and on down that list.
Let's go to 5A now on the girls' side. And in 5A, West Mesa, no surprise, number 1. Hobbs, La Cueva, Piedra Vista, and Carlsbad, pretty much the same top 5. And, you know, before I bring Ed back in, Carlsbad is having an outstanding season.
Yeah, they've got one of the state's best players, Carson Boswell, their guard, who is already committed to, I believe, Idaho State, I think. So yeah, that team is very stout. And as I said, I mean, they've only got 2 losses, one of them at home to West Mesa. So you know, Carlsbad and Hobbs are going to battle it out over the next 6 weeks in that district. Probably they're going to see each other 2, 3, 4 times at least before the state tournament even gets here.
I think it's a great point that you brought up earlier. Is West Mesa this year that they get that blue trophy? It's a special group, right? So to cultivate that, you have to get right, in my opinion. Now they beat Hobbs on a last-second shot by Emily Burke, 25-footer. So you know, that would be an interesting game if they did see each other again. You know, West Mesa, Burke, Castellano, Rivas. They've got Esperanza Vados. They played La Cueva without Vados. I read your story, James.
Yeah.
And they shut down Kai Ingram to 1 point without Vados on that defense. So they've definitely got the pieces and the tools. But I think one of the things that your point is, and at least the way I'm hearing it, you got to win it, right? I mean, with that group here, you have to break through and win one.
Yeah, and psychologically, that win at Hobbs does so much for West Mesa, because if they play Hobbs again, it's going to be here with their fans, not Hobbs' fans. So that victory was as impressive as anything that any girls team in the state has done in the first half, to go down to the defending state champions and roll in there and beat them. You know, and Coach Joe Carpenter still has an excellent group back from last season. So, you know, psychologically now, West Mesa not only knows that they're undefeated and ranked number 1, but they beat number 2, they've already beaten number 3. They're going to play Piedra Vista shortly. They've beaten Carlsbad, they've beaten Volcano Vista, they beat Mayfield, and I think they've beaten Cleveland and Rio Rancho too. So by the next 2 or 3 weeks, they'll have played everybody on this top 10 once they get into Piedra Vista and Farmington. So. And one other thing I wanted to mention real quick, Kaya Ingram, the Bears guard, she probably will not play in the district opener today. She rolled her ankle last week, so she's out for a week or 2. I suspect she will not play this week at all. They only have 1 district game this week, and I think she'll be back in the lineup next week.
Same ankle she rolled last year, right?
Exactly the same ankle. I was at the game when she did it, and they took her off. They took her out of the gym in a wheelchair, but her dad came out after halftime, and she came back out on crutches, and he said she rolled it, but not nearly as severely as it was last year, the one that cost her basically the last month of the season.
Let's go to the boys' side now in 2A. You got Pecos still number 1, Texaco, Santa Rosa, Newcomb, Estancia round out the top 5, Manal at number 10. Let's go to 3A. And in the 3A poll, Navajo Prep moves up to number 1. St. Mike's is number 2. Hot Springs, Sandia Prep, and Tularosa round out the top 5. And in 4A, this is where we can talk a little bit more since these are more local teams. Las Lunas number 1, Hope, Gallup, Silver, and Bernalillo. And Las Lunas doing nothing to spoil that number 1 so far.
No, they're not, and I think I'm really looking forward. Look at that district, too, that you had Pius and Las Lunas there, Damian Segura and Travis Julian. That's going to be some interesting games as well. But when you talk about Travis Julian and maybe a potential matchup later in the state tournament with Hope Christian, wow, that would be one heck of a good game. It really would be.
And mention too real quick, look at Valencia there. It's 6, sort of way under the radar. They've got a first-year head coach.
I want to say the last poll, they were on the others, and now all of a sudden they're at number 6.
You have to remember, a lot of these same kids were playing football, and Valencia had a pretty good football season.
Yes.
And got into the state
tournament. Yes, they did.
After being down for several years. And I suspect a lot of these same kids, not Robbie Harmey or their big tight end, who's a wrestler, a great wrestler, but Valencia very much under the radar with a new coach. Their old coach is now coaching. Jake Herron is now coaching at Albuquerque Academy. But Valencia with a new coach, that's an impressive showing, and that's a team nobody is talking about. And they might be an interesting team to watch. I don't think they can challenge Las Lunas, but they may be the second best team in that district.
Let's go to 5A now on the boys' side. The NMOT coaches poll that came out last night. Las Cruces still number 1, followed by Cleveland, Volcano, Atrisco, and El Dorado. And Ed and James, both of you, we can debate which team could be number 1. I know you're very high on Cleveland, and the question marks are still out on Las Cruces, but I say when you got a team, and you and I went back-to-back over the weekend, James, when you got a team that plays such a stifling defense, that is, to me, the wild card, because the defense a lot of times outshadows the run-and-gun teams.
I mean, that team held Atrisco Heritage to 41 points when they played at the Belen tournament, and I was at that game, and I mean, they just absolutely shut down Atrisco Heritage. And Atrisco Heritage is an accomplished offensive team.
Very good point.
You're talking about, as Ed mentioned earlier, I mean, starting with Josiah Ramos, but not limited to him, Isaiah Brooks and Rivas and DeMarcus Sutphin, Marquise Crawford. They have got a lot of kids that can score the basketball. They shut them down completely. And they held Las Lunas to what, under 30 points when 29? They played them a couple of weeks ago, right? So Las Lunas is not, they are not a dynamic offensive team. But, so could they play an up and down game if it came to that? The thing is, will it come to that? They force you to play at their pace. That was my impression after watching them play Manzano and playing Atrisco. They force you to play at their pace, and they get to score in the 40s and the 50s where they're comfortable. But having said that, they're not impervious. I mean, look at a team like Gadsden in the bottom right of the screen.
Overtime.
They took Las Cruces to overtime in the district opener last week. So, everything is on the table. Volcano Vista, as I've said, is the best team I've seen, most complete team. But Las Cruces is a worthy number 1. They're undefeated, and they've earned that number 1 spot right now.
Okay, Ed, I know you're dying to say hi to Coach Benjamin. Go ahead.
That's my guy. He sent me these stats. Gonzalo Corbalon, 14 points, 5 rebounds in district. William Deuce Benjamin averaging 11 points in district. Salvador Narvaez, 10 points, 5 rebounds. Rashad Brown has not played a district game this year due to injury. He might play tonight against Oñate. So that's directly from Coach Benjamin. One of the things that I talked to him a couple weeks ago for Enchantment Sports, and he said offensively, he took Neil McCarthy's defensive strategy and implements all of it. So a lot of respect for Coach Benjamin.
Yeah, and Deuce Benjamin, of course, is his son. And I saw a quote recently, I think in the Las Cruces paper, where he said that his son was far more advanced, and I think he's just a freshman.
Freshman.
Is far more advanced at his age than William was at that same age.
And William was one heck of a player, man.
Right. So that team has got great guards. I love watching that team play defense. It'll be fun in the state tournament if we see them play a couple of, like a Cleveland or Volcano Vista or an El Dorado, teams that like to get up and down and run and score, and how they adjust to Las Cruces, slowing down the pace and grinding on you for 32 minutes.
That'd be awesome.
Atrisco could not deal with it. And Atrisco's as good an offensive team as we have in this whole area, including Cleveland. So it'll be really interesting to see when we get into March, if it comes to that, how some of these better offensive teams might fare if they run into Las Cruces.
One thing that Atrisco is good at, if we see those two go head-to-head again before we go on to the next part as we close out the show, adjustments.
Yeah, Coach Benjamin and Coach Ortega are both state championship winning coaches. Adrian just got his state title last year. William got his a few years ago. And they were, of course, they lost to Atrisco in double overtime in the semifinals last year with a team that I know he thought could win state, and he was upset that they weren't the #1 seed. And he was really upset.
He was.
About that. Maybe he had a good point. I don't know. I mean, that's not for me to say necessarily. But these guys, great basketball brains. And you can throw Greg Brown on that list too, Roy Sanchez. You got all who have won state championships who know how to manage in-game, from possession to possession, from quarter to quarter, from half to half. Not every coach has necessarily that skill, but there are a lot of coaches that have won state on this list. Wally at Rio Rancho, Roy, Adrian, Greg, Coach Benjamin. Sean Jimenez hasn't won. This is his third year at Cleveland. Maybe he gets his this year. So a lot of coaches on that list there that have won state titles. Frank Castillo with La Cueva, looking a little further down. Jay Nisler at Clovis, another one who won state titles with the Elida girls. So a lot of great basketball minds on that list.
As we roll out the show, like usual, as we have a few minutes left, let's go to the Lobos, the Lobo men's basketball team with a win, a must-win, if you will, as they beat Wyoming. You can talk about Wyoming being depleted or all you want, but a win is a win, especially as needed this win was.
Well, he went back to a man-to-man defense, and he's been changing from zone to man. I think the thing that I was happy to see is that guard Keith McGee has been playing better. They've been waiting for him. There's been some issues, disciplinary issues with him, Corey Manigolds. So Keith McGee, I think, is going to be the key going forward for that team. Coach Weir's trying to get Mathis off that 2-guard and play McGee more. Let's see how that works out.
Couple more minutes. We'll roll through this real quickly. The game tonight at UNLV will be a big one. And you got the Lobos 9-9, 3-3 in conference. UNLV 10-7, 4-1. Both these teams coming off of big wins against poorer.
Lobos came off that big win against Nevada. Then they run into a UNLV buzzsaw, and they start on a 3-game losing streak. Is that game? Jeff Symbieta said that game against Wyoming, even if they win, might be fool's gold. Let's see. I mean, they have to establish some consistency. Bragg played a little bit better. But defensively is the key as far as I'm concerned. He's been switching back from zone to man, now back to a man. Are they going to be able to get the stops that they need late in the game?
Real quickly, let's look at the women's score. Wyoming, that was a big win, 78-75 on the road against a team that usually dominates against UNM.
Wyoming's excellent on offense. They run their offense really well. So Asia Robertson, as I mentioned, she's been playing well all year long. She's got a chip on her shoulder for sure. I really like the way she plays, so it was a big win.
And look at that field goal percentage. I mean, 52.5% on the road. Any coach would take that any day of the week, especially, as I said, against a team that's offensively skilled like Wyoming.
James, want to thank you so much for coming here this morning and kind of helping us sort things out. And we'll talk to you on Saturday as well.
You bet. Good to see you. Ed, you too.
James, man, thanks for schooling us.
Want to thank Alden Ioane for keeping this all together. Had a lot of slides for him today. For Ed Nunez and James Yotis of the Albuquerque Journal, Scott Galletti. See you next Tuesday on the Sports Desk.
Don't sacrifice quality of flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network. Car Crafters, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.